So let's take a look at some of the first tools that you're going to look at. One of the things that we use most often is the zoom in and zoom out tool. But before we get there, I'm going to show you first of all how to open a new image. So I'm going to close these images down right now. And I'm going to just say don't save. Normally when I open up Photoshop, this will be the screen that I'm going to be greeted with. So this is my home screen. Now, on the left here, you can see I've got two options. I can create new or I can open. Let's take a look at create new. So we might want to create a whole new image, if you like. And I click on create new, and it'll come up immediately with a few different options. I can use some saved options, I can use print options, art and illustration. For argument's sake, let's just go for a straightforward A4 size workspace, and I'm going to click on that. If I do, you'll notice on the right hand side here, the first thing that it'll do is it'll ask me, what do you want to call this new workspace? I'm going to just say test 1, and then it's giving me the size in millimeters. So this one is 210 millimeters by 297 millimeters. You can choose whatever you choose there. If inches is more about, it makes more sense to you, that's fine, or centimeters, points, picas, pixels, whatever works for you. I'm going to actually turn it into centimeters because that makes more sense to me. And you want to keep the resolution always at 300. We're going to talk about resolution later on, but for now let's just keep that as it is, 300 pixels per inch. The color mode you want to keep it in is RGB, red, green, blue. And your color bitrate here, you can keep at 8-bit, just for normal sort of applications there. I want the background to be white. You can have any color you choose. You can have it transparent, you can have it white, black, background color that you choose. For now, let's keep it at white. The color profile, we're going to keep it at working standard RGB. And RGB will be your red, green, blue, which is the colors that your camera shoots in. I'm going to keep it at that for now, and we're going to go into detail about that. And of course, square pixels is the standard. Once I've checked that all of that is correct, remember 300 is probably your most important thing right there. You want to click on it and say create. And there is my blank new image. Now, the reason why this is important is because this is the first step in creating an image. If you want to create a collage, or you want to create, you may want to do some graphic design work, you might want to put text, or you want to create something new, this is the way to start that. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to look at is this the correct way up? I might want to be doing something in portrait, so this is great, but if it's not, how do I turn that around? And we are going to look at that right now. So what I'm going to say is the first challenge that we have with this particular canvas, if you like, is that I'm thinking it's sitting on the wrong way. I want it to be in a landscape format. So I am going to change that, and I'm going to go and say into my image, and I'm going to look, if you look down, you'll see if I go down my menu bar, it's going to say image rotation. Now sometimes you might open up a new photograph and it's sitting, or it's lying on its side, and you want to bring it up, or you want to change it to lie down into landscape. Let's take a look here. Image rotation will be 90 degrees clockwise, because I want it to go into landscape format. And there it is. Now, this is just a blank canvas, but what I'm going to do is, I am actually going to say, I'm going to cancel out of this and open a photograph so that you can get an idea of how this works. So to close any photograph that you have, or any canvas that you have open, you go up to the top here, you'll notice my workspace is open. I have a tab up here, test 1, which is the one that I named, and I close that off. I don't want to save it because I didn't make any changes to it, and I'm back to my home page. Now, if I click on open, it's going to open up an image, and it's going to ask me, where do I want to open up the image from? And I can then go into any one of my folders, and I can find an image that I choose to open. Right now though, I have the image that I want sitting over here. So your previously edited images are going to be sitting in the bottom here, and so I am going to just click on that Yukon photo again and open that one up. So now I have my photo up again, but let's assume just for a minute that this was the wrong way around. I'm going to be able to go up to image, and I'm going to go to image rotation, and I'm going to turn it 90 degrees counterclockwise. Now of course that's wrong again, but I can then go back and image rotate it another 90 degrees counterclockwise, and it'll come back. So you can shift it as much as you need to. You can also do this. If you look at image rotation, you can go 180 degrees. Okay, so now it's upside down. You can also go, let's do it 180 again. You can also do this, which is interesting. You can actually rotate your canvas horizontally. So now you can have it the other way around. So your image rotation is a really interesting tool. You can actually flip it horizontally too if you want, or vertically. So let's go vertical, you flip it upside down. Again, flip canvas vertically, we want to get it back. And we might say, okay, we don't want it that way around, we kind of preferred it the other way. You can get it back to where you want it. So you have a lot of different options, lots of different ways to rotate and move your images around in Photoshop. Now if you have a look here, this looks great, it's filling the screen, but perhaps I want to see it not as big, I want to make it a little bit smaller, or I might want to change the way it's looking. Size-wise, I might want to zoom in to see the details on some of the images. So one of the things that we can do is using the zoom and hand tools. And if you take a look at the top here, in our toolbar, we have a bunch of different tools here. Our zoom and hand tool generally will sit on our toolbar, and if you have a look, here they are over here. So here's my zoom tool, and I'm going to zoom, I'm going to click on the zoom tool, and as I move my cursor over the photograph, you'll notice there's a plus in the middle of a magnifying glass. What that means is right now I can zoom in. If I click on the image, it starts to zoom in. And if I click on a particular point in the image, I can zoom in to that point. Now, if I want to zoom out, I can do one of two things. I can go back up to my option bar. Take a look at how the option bar has changed. I can go to the minus, and again, I can zoom out. And if I keep zooming out, the image just disappears, right? It gets much smaller. If I need to zoom in, I can zoom in again. Let's say I want to go to this peak here and have a look how it looks there. There it is. I can also do a bunch of different things here. I can say, make it 100%. So right now, I'm at 100%. So if I zoomed in there, I said, no, make it up, get me back to 100%, it would go down to 100%. I can say, make it fit the screen, and it would fit the screen. Or I could make it fill the screen. So now you can see the image is filling my screen. But now we have another challenge. The challenge is I've zoomed in, but I want to move just a little bit to the right. So there's a few ways you can do that. The one way is you can actually drag the bars at the bottom and on the sides to actually move around the image. Okay. You can also use the hand tool. So if we go back here to the hand tool and click on it, you can click and move around the image to actually go in. And if you want to zoom again, you can then go zoom in, and then you can hit your hand tool and move around and say, oh, actually I want to see this next peak over here in a little more detail, and there we go. I want to zoom out, I'll go back to my zoom tool, and I zoom out. Now I realize, oh, hang on a minute, I'm a bit too far over, I'm going to move it across. Right? Now, it's a little cumbersome, but there are easier ways. One of the ways that you can actually make this a little bit better to see where you are. So for example, let's say I zoom right into my image and I get a little bit lost. Let's say I'm going to zoom in and I start zooming right in and I'm going, okay, I don't know where I am in my image. Over here, one of the tools that I have is my navigator tool. I click on it, and you can actually see that it's now showing me where I am in the image. Now, the navigator tool is a really, really useful tool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it and I'm going to drag it out onto this panel over here. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to click there and I can then make this bigger to actually see where I am in the image. And even more so, I can move this around to navigate around the image so that I can see. The other nice thing about the navigator tool is I can zoom in or zoom out on the navigator tool. So I could actually go there and go, oh, actually I want to see the detail here on the rocks. And actually I want to go and see more than that. I want to go deeper than that. And then you can do that too. The nice thing about the navigator tool, I just look at a glance and I can very quickly see where I am in the image instead of having to zoom out and then go, oh right, I want to go back into that section there. Okay, good, I'm going to go back in there. You can very quickly navigate around your image just by using the navigator tool. So it's a really, really useful tool. I like the navigator tool. I use it often, and it really helps me, especially when I'm trying to do more fine work. I will zoom in and be able to quickly see where I am in the image just simply by dragging the navigator tool around and going, oh, okay, that's over there, I've got it. So very, very useful tool. I'm going to click on those double arrows to push it back onto this panel here, this panel on the right hand side. Now, if you don't see your navigator tool sitting there, because normally it would be sitting up here, and you can see I just click and drag and drop it back onto the panel on the right hand side there. If you go up here to Window, so go along your Photoshop menu bar, click on Window, and you will notice you have a bunch of different workspaces, and we will talk more about that, but my workspace right now is set to the photography workspace, which means the tools that you're seeing on the screen right now are the tools that are set up standard in the photography workspace. I can put other tools in and save that as a custom workspace if I choose. But what you'll notice here is on the panels on the right hand side of the screen, on these panels over here, these tools over here can be pulled in there. So for example, I could have, and you can see it over there, I could have my navigator is out there. I can have libraries, I can have layers, and I've got histogram there. So if I decide to take, for example, if I click on navigator, you'll notice that navigator is not shown because the navigator is not at the top of my navigation right now. If I decide to remove the navigator and put it out here, you'll notice that it doesn't show me navigator, but when I click on it, the navigator will pop up. If you have a tool here that you don't see, for example, you might say, well, I want to bring out 3D as an example, or let's click on that. It will add that to your panel over here. You can then choose where you want to have it. You might say, okay, I'm going to drop it in over there, and there's your 3D. So it's hidden behind the histogram, and your navigator is sitting here. You could have your layers panel sitting there. You can also adjust these panels based on how big you want them to be. Okay, so you have a lot of flexibility in the way you set up your workspace in Photoshop. One of the things that I tend to do is I will keep my navigator over here so I can very quickly and very easily see where I am in my image.